Feeling lost in software developer titles? Junior, Medior, Senior, what do they really mean? That was my question, together with how to actually progress and what skills define each stage. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what is the real career path, what are the key skills to master, and how to be faster than anyone else in this race. I was so confused how each company defines those levels, and each of them has its own rules how you progress. So I've decided to build my own system. It is based on my progression from newcomer to the senior. And after endless debates with my colleagues and other professions, I finally found what are the key differences in each stage. My name is Aleksei, I help juniors to get into the IT and the established professionals to grow their salary. Here's the common knowledge in software development. Junior developers just follow the instructions. What you tell them, they will do. Medior developers think about how they complete the tasks, so they have a little bit bigger picture. And senior developer have the biggest picture, they actually think about how to solve particular problem. There is nothing new about this, but the real trick is to understand all the little details. So let's go. What defines the junior? Well, junior, first of all, is getting the junior salary. If you passed an interview for a junior position, that means that you qualify for a junior. That's actually the only objective metric, if you think about that. Because you can be in a company for years and think that you are medior or senior, but if you are not able to pass the interview to a medior or senior, well, then you are not really one. What is expected from the junior? Junior should execute defined and repetitive tasks. For example, bug fixing or covering the codebase with unit tests or writing the documentation about already existing functionality. When it comes to the relationship between junior and the codebase, junior only learns about the codebase and only learns about the best practices and those applied in a particular project. As a junior, you are expected to grow because company obviously wants to give you the more difficult task with time, but still paying you the junior salary. So junior is almost defined by accepting the challenging tasks and not being afraid to fail. When it comes to the coding mindset, as a junior, I was always doing something and hoping that it's gonna work. But it wasn't, of course. When it comes to the interviews, juniors are mostly interviewed about the theoretical knowledge and algorithms. One more metric is the relationship between the developer and artificial intelligence. Junior tries to delegate everything to artificial intelligence without really realizing the consequences. When it comes to the soft skills, junior is of course expected to be mentored. He's expected to ask the questions and not being afraid to fail and kind of make mistakes. And many companies expect you as a junior to grow in the soft skills direction first, because it is much easier to teach person with the soft skills than the hard skills than the opposite. So the real thing that the junior should be focused on is how to ask the right question and how to act upon received feedback. What are the myths about the juniors? Juniors are not good at coding. And if you're expected to know everything, that's a wrong expectation. Juniors are self-sufficient in most cases. That's absolutely wrong. You are the best person to rely on more experienced people, and you are expected to ask them, to learn from them, not trying to be self-sufficient, because that is just not effective. And the last but not least, juniors are expected to have from 0 to 2 years of experience. Please don't rate a seniority based on the years of experience. If you are a junior, you should be focused on learning, observation, and guided contribution. Next one is the middle level of seniority, or Medior. First of all, Medior is getting a Medior salary. If you think you are a Medior but you are getting the junior one, that's not really the case. First go and try to secure the offer. Medior already has some pride about how he writes the code, and he tries to fight it, but he is not still sure because he's not the senior. So that's where the criticism struggles are the highest. Medior is able to contribute independently, so no mentorship is required for the Medior. For me, that meant that asking the questions became the last instance, so I tried all the things before actually asking the questions, and many time it worked without involving someone else. When it comes to the coding responsibilities, the Medior delivers the code from the start to an end. So as a Medior, I was understanding the context, I was understanding how CI/CD works, and all this big kind of pipeline movement. As a Medior, I was already thinking what is the best code style, what is the best kind of framework for this particular task, what is the structure of the code I'm going to write. So all those little details that actually contribute to the quality of the code base are already the responsibility of a Medior. As a Medior, every second interview I had a system design questions, so the knowledge of system design is a must-have. And of course, communication skills. On every interview, I was asked what is the most difficult problem I've encountered in my career, how do I deal with the difficult colleagues, and all those things, because those are the key determinants of your career. As a Medior, you might be expected to already mentor some newcomers or early juniors. When it comes to the best practices as a Medior, I was expected to contribute to the team knowledge. So if I discover some nice technology or some nice framework, I was expected to share it from time to time. When it comes to the artificial intelligence, the Mediors are delegating repetitive tasks, but the complex logic, we still do it with our hands. So Medior uses AI as a kind of pair programmer. And Medior already understands the cost of the challenging tasks, so he is balancing between the challenging task and the repetitive tasks, just to save a bit of energy. But Medior is still not able to differentiate between the challenging and repetitive tasks, so that's the problem. And of course, the Medior isn't the person who has between 3 to 5 years of experience. Again, that doesn't work like that, and stick to the end to know why. As a Medior, I was focusing on the complex problem solving, strategic influence, technical leadership, and of course mentorship. And the most interesting level, the senior. Who is the senior? Well, the senior is getting a senior salary. If you manage to pass the interview and pass the probation period for the senior role, congratulations, you are a senior. You are expected to contribute to the strategy of the team and the product. You're expected to lead when it comes to the technical challenges, and of course you are expected to be able to solve complex problems. I think that the good senior should be in touch with the business to understand the whole context, the product, the customers. Because how can you develop the strategy if you don't understand what the customer is paying for? This one got me when I heard it, but the senior is actually understanding the difference when you should go for the speed and when you should go for the quality. When it comes to the interviews, for the senior, it is very rare to not be interviewed about your past experience. So be ready to explain and articulate how you handle complex problems and difficult situations at your work, especially from the technical side. The senior understands what is his role in the company. He understands that he is not here because of the vision of the company or for the value it creates or for the support that he's getting. The senior is in the company because he's being paid a senior salary. He knows that the salary is what keeps him in the company, so he doesn't have any other illusions. This one is where I lag the most, but as a senior you are expected to translate the vague requirements into a concrete defined tasks to delegate them to the juniors and mediors. Senior is leading the juniors and mediors, and he's actually defining the best practices of the team. Senior understands that there is no such a thing as a my code. It's just the code of the team, because the whole team is being evaluated at the end. That's why he is self-sufficient, but he is accepting the criticism. And when the senior is writing the code, he is leaving it cleaner than before. Senior is thinking about the future of the project. So for example, when I was choosing the framework for the unit tests in our project, I first asked everyone, what are the plans? Do we plan to migrate somewhere? Do we plan to change some frameworks or the languages? And it turned out that we want to migrate from Java to Kotlin, so why using the JUnit if you can use the code-test? That's what defines the seniority. And the seniors are those people who are the most skeptical about artificial intelligence, because so often a senior can do the work faster with his hands, without the help of the artificial intelligence. And because the senior person is at the end of the sub-ladder in the development career path, he should be thinking about what is the next step, because companies offer management roles or expert roles or an architect roles. But it's not all, and I have a video about the rest of them. And when it comes to the myths about the senior is not expected to know everything. It doesn't depend on the level of seniority, because no matter how senior you are, there will be still things that you don't know. So no, senior person is still the one who is actively learning and who is open to the discussions and who is open to listen for the new ideas. And the senior is not the one who has 6+ years of experience, and it's time to explain why. Imagine you joined an IT and you've been working for 20 years in one single company. You know all the code base, you understand all the customer needs, so you are basically an expert of this project. It doesn't necessarily mean that you are the one who defined the pipelines. It doesn't necessarily mean that you are the one who chose the frameworks or the language. It is still possible for the 20 years you've been doing just repetitive tasks as a junior. And on the other hand, there can be a junior who joined a rapidly developing company, who have been mentored actively and learning his evenings and weekends, especially if the junior is taking the responsibility and is accepting the challenges. So you can be a 4 years senior and you can be a 20 years junior. There are more things that define seniority level, but I didn't mention them because they depend on the company type. For example, startups value the versatility, rapid growth, and broad responsibilities, whereas large corporations value much more the specialization, structured paths, and scaled impact. You could notice that it's not about learning technologies, languages, frameworks, so stop doing that. Instead, focus on the competencies, not the years. Prioritize how you solve the problems, how you understand the context. Make sure that your contributions are actually impacting the future of the product. Seek for the feedback and for the mentorship actively. Constructive feedback is a catalyst for the growth. So you should proactively look both for the mentors and mentees. Why? As a mentee, you learn something from your mentor, and the best way how to actually understand that knowledge is to teach someone else. So if you're looking for a mentee or for the mentor, just write in the comments, and maybe someone will react. When it comes to the key mindset shifts, focus on embracing an ownership and being accountable of your contributions. Just commit to continuous learning. It's just a part of the job. But don't forget that this is a team sport and you should also develop a collaborative mindset. You can be the best developer, but if no one likes to work with you, you will not probably stay for the long time in a company. Let me know in the comments which insight you like the most, and if there is something I missed, please let me know in the comments so we can all learn together. If you watched until here, I think this one might be useful for you. And finally, please choose your path, take your step, and get paid.